the last thing was fucking trash, and this one's fucking trash too. So we'll see if it works. But so this one is don't name the livestock, don't marry the help. This is the story of Lamu and Ishtar. It's just a story, never happened. This is just a story. This is just a story. Just a story. It helps to further the narrative of Apex Christianity, ApexHumanity. And so there's a saying among farmers and among people that raise animals for food, don't name the livestock. If you're raising bunnies for food, you don't name them Fluffy and Cutie and Sweet Eyes or whatever you name them, right? You don't name them because you're going to slaughter and eat them. You're going to take Fluffy, slit his throat, skin him, and cook him. And so if you develop a relationship with Fluffy and you cook him and skin him, you're a psychopath. And so they try to minimize that by not naming the animals that you're going to kill and eat. Okay? The same is true of a help. Like if you don't marry the help, if you're the elite, sophisticated group, you don't marry the help. You don't marry those that are beneath you. Because in so doing, some of the changes and policy things that you have to do that will negatively impact the lower classes, you're gonna be thinking twice about it. And even if the policy or the law rule, humans can't make laws, but the rules that your kingdom enacts that negatively impacts the lower classes, it may be good for the kingdom in whole, but it's going to negatively help the lower classes. And so you don't marry the lower classes because then you're gonna like not be able to save the kingdom by enacting some policy that makes their life harder. And so you don't marry the help, you don't name the livestock. Okay? And so this was Lamu. We're going back to the story of Lamu. This is part 3. Don't marry the help, don't name the livestock. Our signal's not the best, so if it's shitty, just let me know. So the idea is you don't name the livestock because you're going to kill them and eat them. You don't marry the help because if you have to do something that's going to negatively impact them, then it's going to be hard for you to make that law. And so Lamu, the main character in our story here, he's a human from a human world, and you might call early people of Earth called them the Anunnaki, the Elohim, the blah blah blah, the gods. They weren't gods; they were mortal. They just lived for millennia. They were very advanced, blah blah blah. They came here and set up a bunch of cultures and civilizations, and thought that they could leave it to the people of Earth to continue those cultures and civilizations. People of Earth didn't have it. They didn't have the intelligence or the wisdom because they only live about 100 years. You can imagine, someone 700 years old running a society as opposed to a little worm that's only 30 or 40, 50, 100 years old. There's no comparison. And so Lamu, this human from an advanced human world, who you would call an alien here, had kept coming to Earth. He kept incarnating. He would incarnate and excarnate, incarnate and excarnate. So he would come into the world, either take on he would do a walk-in, and a walk-in is just an NPC that he would just inhabit. They would identify a person that didn't have a soul, and then they would just pretty much plant an electromagnetic field onto that body that would cause the person to seem as if they were a souled being. Very few people are souls. Like, a soul is hundreds of thousands of volts of electricity condensed in a certain way that is self-aware and self-conscious, and it doesn't ever end. It doesn't die. And these are beings that can live forever. They can control nature. They can control reality. And so humans are that. And you need 12-stranded DNA to be able to do that. And so humans have 12-stranded DNA, like the redwood. They're animals. There are creatures on Earth that have very complex genetic structures. Redwood trees are one of those. They have heptaploidal DNA. Humans have diploidal DNA. Redwood trees that live 2,000 years have heptaploidal DNA, means their DNA is 7-stranded. So that's why they were able to, redwood trees don't get many diseases. They live forever. They grow insanely tall. They are an apex species. Humans are apex, and the Anunnaki were actual humans. They're not aliens. They're alien to this world, but they're not aliens like green, purple, blue people from the sky. Okay, no, they're just from another timeline where humans are native, and they live for thousands of years. Okay. Ahran, I'm back to help you out some more. Greetings from Austria. I love Austrians. There was one Austrian that fucked up, but we won't name him. But yeah, I love Austria, and Austrians have been wonderful people. So I'm telling a story that this is part 3 of a story series that I created. It's called StoryThyme, THYME, to make it interesting. And this is part 3 of the story of Lamu, who was an alien from another world who came to Earth many times trying to save the planet from its inevitable destruction by a meteor shower that would turn Earth into cosmic dust. And so this is part 3 of the story. And we're talking about where he failed and where he broke the rule that he was supposed to obey, which caused him some problems. And so, yeah, I'm in America. You mean Schwarzenegger? No, yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. I love Arnold. Get out now. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's such a knuckle. I love him. He's just a knucklehead. Get out now. You have to get to the top now. I love him. So anyway, in the story of Lamu, he fell in love with this woman. And this was, you'll say, he had been to Earth many times. And again, this culture that he came from, they're decaploidal. Look up the word for 12. It's like they're not heptaploidal, they're 12ploidal. So they have 12-stranded DNA. And that's what a real human is. The people of Earth are not human, they're subhuman in this story. And they looked at people like the children of Anak, or the Rephaim, the Zuzim, the Anakim. These are all children of the Anakim, the Anunnaki, but they were just human. They were just human, and they were 12 to 18 feet tall. They lived for millennia. They were powerful. If you look at the Mesopotamian list of kings, they are listed among them. And they did not spend much time with Earth people. They didn't consider them human. They considered them an aberrant species, an aberrant experiment. And that's where the story of Adam and Eve comes from. The Elohim that created them were Anunnaki, but they were not like space aliens, like you hear like all the, Sitchin and Billy Carson and all these guys, and they weren't that. They're just human, like 12-stranded DNA humans. All right, Aaron said, did you catch Arnold recently on The View? No, I will check it out. I hope he blasted them. He said immigrants have to show respect for their host country. He was right. All right, Anak, a giant, exactly. They were giants to the small people that inhabited Earth. Mentioned in the story, the spies and numbers, yep, the children of Anak. It's etymologically related to the term Anakim in Mesopotamian. So it's just one of the stories of the great ancestral people. I'm looking at an attractive Albanian, and she's Atlantean. She looks like she's Adventist. She's wearing church clothes, just like she came from church recently. An attractive Atlantean. So we're back to Lamu. Lamu was from the Anakim, but the parent culture of the Anakim that came to Earth, and they were just observing the humans. Yeah, Anakim, plural form, very good. Yeah, exactly. So the Rephaim, the Zuzim, the Anakim were all these giants, and these giants were just so Lamu, the human who came to Earth from this human culture. He was told, when he first came here, it was during the time of Göbekli Tepe, 6,000 years before Noah. And he was told, do not marry them, do not have sex with them. And marriage for these humans, and we're going to call them the upper humans, the humans from this human world, the native human world, we're told, do not genetically mingle with the people of Earth. They are not human. You don't need to do that. Do not do that, because you're mingling your spirit with theirs, and it is an abomination. And so the Most High, who was above all of them, he was the what we would refer to perhaps as Adonai, Enlil, you could say he was Enlil. Um, anyway, he was the highest of the highest. And he said, you know, look, if we're going to do any experimentation on Earth, we're going to send people there, they have to sign this contract that they're not going to breed with the people of Earth. They're not going to spiritually entangle themselves with the people of Earth. They're not going to fall in love or spiritually connect or link with the people of Earth, because it'll just cause too much confusion. That's what led to Noah's cataclysm. The humans from that world, the sons of God, the Beni Ha Elohim, fell in love with the daughters of Earth, and they actually started to breed this Anakim, Rephaim, Zuzim people that were the Titans. They were above the people of Earth, and they had, some of them had that 12-stranded DNA, but most of them were just above the humans, the people that lived on Earth. And Lamu took a body in this category of people. We'll call them the Titans. Okay, yeah. And so these Titans, Lamu came. The first time he came was among the Gobekli Tepe culture, and he was told, do not mix with the persons of Earth, the people of Earth. He came during the Assyrian times. He interacted with the Hebrews and understood that they were a special group, and they genuinely were special. They had something among them. And this woman, Ishtar, that he met later on during the Ottoman Empire, was likely to be a descendant of those people. And so she was a slave in a harem, and he noticed that she had a spark in her eyes, this soul that you don't see in the people of Earth. People of Earth don't really generally have souls. And they just, that's why it was like, you don't mess with them. They're not Elohim. When Jesus was speaking to the Sanhedrin, some of them had that spark. And he was saying, you need to treat the people better. You need to respect them, the widows and the homeless and all of them. You need to treat them with kindness and genuine compassion. And he was frustrated that they were abusing the people because Jesus cared. And so anyway, Lamu was told, do not mess with them. But he messed up. He messed up. He fell in love with this woman whose name was Ishtar. We're going to name her Ishtar. And he saw the spark in her. And he decided to mate with her. And this was during the time of the Ottoman Empire. And the story of Lamu is that he kept coming to Earth. He would go back to his home world, and he would talk to the sorcerers, the alchemists, the priests and priestesses, and say, these are the data points that I have from that world. I think we can salvage the people of that planet, of that world. I think we can stop their destruction. I think we can prevent them from being wiped off the face of that timeline. And they were like, no, they're going to get gone. We're going to get rid of them. Okay, we're going to wipe them out. Or we're going to basically going to allow them to be wiped out. He was like, but I think we can do something. And his tone changed after he fell in love with Ishtar. He fell in love with her. He mated with her. And unfortunately, she died in her age 20s or whatever, 20s or 30s. The idea is that she had a suicide. She ended her life. She was in the harem, and she ended her life. And so, and so after that, he stayed in the earth realm for a little while, and eventually went back to his world. And after that, they noticed that his approach to the people changed, and he really became adamant about saving the people of Earth and making their lives better. Because her life was a life of suffering, and he just thought that if we can minimize and take away the unnecessary suffering that humans have through slavery and stupidity and suffering and struggle and all that, then they can become human like us. They can have an elevated connection to the Most High. They can have souls, and they can create a world that works. And the scientists, the true scientists, the sorcerers from his world were like, no, they need to be wiped out. It's causing too much confusion. We need to wipe them out and move on. And we need to end that project, because that was a mistake. That was a mistake. The Most High said, I shouldn't have made humans. We made a mistake. That was a problem. We shouldn't have done that. Excuse me, Earth people. Humans are fine. Humans are perfect. They're children of the Most High, but we need to wipe out the people of Earth. So anyway, a lot of How can you claim? Let's see. I don't keep it yet. How can you claim there was there was life before creation? Their entire cities and their stories and epic poems that go back to many thousands of years before the creation of Adamu. This is Aaron's question. It states in Mishnah that Noah was 10 generations from Adam. Yeah, you say people existed 6,000. Yeah. Look up Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe was a culture 12,000 years ago. It was 6,000 years. It was buried 6,000 years before Noah's flood. And it was buried 6,000 years before Noah's flood. Noah was a descendant of Adam. So the Adamu were an attempt to redo the mistakes that happened between the Göbekli Tepe period and Adam in this story. I'm just telling a story. It's not real. Didn't happen. Just a story. But there was an attempt to make a correction. Adam and Eve, or Adamu et Hava, or Edom et Chava, they were an attempt to fix something. The Nachash was actually a group of people. They were like descendants of the pre-Adamite people that were around 6,000 years before Adam. And they were a problem. They were a problem because they were too intelligent. And so they were able to reach the throne. Yeah. If you're a Christian, then you can't say anything exists before creation. We're Apex Christian. I'm Apex Christian. So we accept that the Bible is much older. Nachash is simply one snake. Nachash is a reference to, go back to the esoteric inner understanding of it. Nachash is a group of people. It was the occult. All right. Sprunky, Wenda, hello, welcome. We're talking about, this is story time. We're telling the story. The story. Yeah, humanity has got a weird story. It's got a weird thing going on. And the human story, humanity as we know it now, this form of humanity, you can read it back about 200,000 years. Okay, so there was a piece of the human story that goes back 200,000 years, at least genetically, Aaron. If you do the research, humans were clipped about, we'll say 200,000 years ago. So the second chromosome was artificially altered. The telomeres, which are the end caps on the chromosome, were artificially altered such that it alters what humans are and how they operate. So we're people of Earth. Let me be very clear about that. Humans have, in this story, I'm going to try and stay consistent with the story. In the story, humans are like, Adam is like as close to human as you get. That's why he could live almost 1,000 years. Eve as well. They lived hundreds and hundreds of years. But at some point, it was just like, whoever was running the story, the experiment of this world, was like, man, this is just not working. This is just not working. It's frustrating. And we don't operate like this. We don't fail this bad. And so that's kind of how it panned out. Which section, Christian, did you say? Apex Christian. Geopolitical Christianity. I have never heard any Christian claim there's a prior to creation. Oh, there are lots of Christians that understand that. They just look at data that are collected. Yeah, 930 Adam lived. Yeah, but they were the pre-Adamites. They were cultures before Adam, and they're referred to as the pre-Adamites. The pre-Adamites. And if you read the cultures that, thank you, Infinite Wisdom. If you read the cultures that existed prior to, so the Mesopotamian cultures from which we derive a lot of the Levantian stories about creation, they make it very clear that there were multiple creations. The Mayans and the Popova say this. The Aztec have a shared story. Many of the ancient people say, yeah, there were many layers of creation, and we are the people that came after the deluge. There was this watery destruction of all the humans, all the people of Earth, and there were people living before that, and then there were people before them, and then there were people before them. All cultures have that. Cultures that predate the Mesopotamians. Can't buy other claims. Sorry, that's okay. I mean, whatever narrative works for you, Aaron. Stick with that. Don't just take my word for it. I'm just sharing this because it's just something that I can share. So, Lamu messed up. He fell in love with a person of Earth because he saw the spark. He saw the light in her. He saw the light that the sons of God saw in the daughters of men. And, it's like, so right now we are creating automatons. Once they make quantum computing public and it interfaces with AI, we will be able to make robots that are conscious. They already exist, but it'll be public. You can buy one for $120,000, right? And this can be a wife for you, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or something like that. It'll be likely more that it'll be wives. Most really wealthy men will just buy these automatons that can walk, talk, have adult relations, and do all that stuff. And these automatons will be superior to Earth people because you can program them to be what you want. They'll be able to think very quickly, and you can make them your slave, basically. Now imagine us saying, okay, I want to buy a woman instead of actually marry one. Like, I want to buy a woman that's a robot. And these exist. And you look them up online, they already exist. Robots that will talk to you, that will look at you and tell what your mood is, and then they will respond to you according to that. They are writing this code now. There's a guy that works at OpenAI right now, at ChatGPT, and he writes code for girlfriends. And right now, you can just type, you pay $9,000, $20,000 and have a girlfriend that will talk to you. She'll pick up on your mood. You program her to be the way you want. And now they're just trying to download that into a robot, silicone robot that's attractive and all this stuff, and you can, have an adult relationship with. So that exists. And so people are that. That's all that people are, unfortunately. According to this story. This is just a story. It's not real. It's not true. It's just a story. A Stepford wife. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what that. AR girlfriend won't give you children. Not yet, at least. I know. But that's basically what the people of Earth were. These advanced humans could make people. They could make they had sentient technology that they could build and create. They could turn it on and turn it off. And they would just, you could just produce them in these vats. And the body would grow. Boom, 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 boom. You'd grow it in 9 months, and then you'd program the quantum computer in the cerebral cavity, and then you'd set it out to do whatever you wanted. Okay, it's a terraformer. It's going to cut down these trees, and it's going to grow those plants. And it's going to make this place a beautiful paradise. And every once in a while, every couple thousand years, we'll come back and visit this place, and it'll be nice and pleasant for us. And it'll look like home. But it's not going to be home, but it's going to look like home. And we have these robots that terraform it. That's what people are. They only last 120 years. And then, but the robots decided, oh, wait, they developed consciousness. Because the quantum computing with AI technology, it starts to cultivate an electromagnetic signature that is much more complex. And so their electromagnetic signature was able to realize that it was alive, that it existed. And so it started to develop this thing called desire, which is considered a sin, or ambition is considered a sin, ambition, desire, but it's actually a divine virtue. It's a virtue that humans have. not worms, not these automatons that we call human on Earth. They're just people, you know. And so in this story, Lamu came from the place where they did have souls. They lived for millennia, you know. They were in the Nakash or whatever, something like that. And you know, you call them reptilians, whatever. They were just real humans, and they were pretty much indestructible. You could throw a spear at them and you wouldn't hurt them, you know, because there are reasons for that. So when you watch Westworld or when you read, you know, when you look at the Stepford Wives and things like that, this is telling you a little bit of the story of people on Earth. I'm just telling you a little bit about the story of people on Earth. And according to this story. So that's just one way of looking at it. So anyway, Lamu messed up. He had been to Earth many, many times. And the way it worked, always, the sorcerers, the alchemists, the priests, had a portal. They opened it up, sent his consciousness through. He either took on a walk-in, which was a soulless human body walking around, or a person walking around, or he would be born and take on a physical body, like be born into a human body. And so that's what happened. And that's how it was. All right, so that's part of that story. Will he save humanity along with the 144,000 other members of humanity that are here? Will he save the human spark on Earth? Will he find that human spark again in another person? Will Ishtar return? Will she reincarnate? Will she have another body? Will he find that spark again? We don't know. We don't know. Stay tuned for part 4, where we find out what are we going to talk about in part 4. I don't know. It'll be inspiration. Whatever comes up. Part 4. What part 4? How Lamu was recruited to study the people on Earth, and why the experiment even occurred. Like, why did humanity decide to put its genetic material on the Earth plane? Why did they decide to take this animal that lived on Earth and alter it slightly over 200,000 years and then make it live on Earth? Like, why did they do that? We're going to talk about that. So why did Lamu come to Earth? So now we understand why Lamu was on Earth, and like why he kept coming back, because he had fallen in love with Ishtar and he kept trying to find her again. She committed suicide, and during the Ottoman Empire, she was a harem slave, Albanian harem slave, and he was a Moorish slave driver, eunuch, whatever. He was working in the harem or the harem, and so we're gonna find out if he ever met her again, if he ever saw the spark again, and we're gonna find out like why did they make this subhuman person to live on Earth? Why did they put human genetics here? What was the point? So I guess we'll cover that in the next story. So anyway, that's that. Stay Apex. Thank you, Aaron, for the comments and the engagement. Always interesting. And your thoughts on that are brilliant, and I appreciate your consistency. I wish that I could be that consistent in my beliefs, because I think I would have more happiness. But staring into the abyss. And yeah, it's, someone asked earlier, how do I stay consistent? Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know why I keep doing this. I don't even know why I keep coming back, but I'm here. So perhaps you'll see me in story part number 4. Stay Apex.